What would you say if a cop leaned into your window and asked, "Can I take a quick look?" If you say the wrong thing, you can turn a simple stop into a full search in seconds. And once you hand over consent, you make their job easy and your defense much harder. Hit subscribe right now because the next few minutes could save you from a search you never had to allow. Like this video now so you can find it fast when a real stop happens and your mind goes blank. Here's what you need to know before this ever happens to you. That quick look is almost never just a quick look. It is often the doorway to a longer stop. More questions, more pressure, and sometimes handcuffs. I've analyzed over 200 body cam videos, and the pattern is always the same. The officer asks in a calm voice. The driver tries to be nice. Then the driver starts talking too much. In this video, you're going to learn the one sentence you say before anything else, the follow-up question that tells you if the stop is over, the backup line you use if they keep pushing, and the final sentence that protects you if things get serious. Let me show you exactly how normal people talk themselves into searches every day. Then I'll show you exactly how smart drivers shut that down without yelling, arguing, or acting rude. Now let's talk about why this matters so much. Most people have no idea that police do not need magic words from you. They need openings. They need you to say, "Sure, I guess. I've got nothing to hide," or even "Go ahead." That is how your rights disappear. You think you're being polite. They hear consent. You think you're ending tension. They hear permission. Here's the reality. A traffic stop is supposed to be about the reason you were pulled over. Speeding, a brake light, rolling a stop sign. But the second you agree to a search, the whole thing can grow. Bags get opened. Containers get checked, questions get sharper, your own words get used against you. If you freeze in that moment, you will say whatever feels easiest. That is why you need a script before you ever need one. So when the officer says, "Can I take a quick look?" the first thing out of your mouth should be simple, calm, and clean. Here's exactly what you say. "Officer, I do not consent to any searches," word for word. Memorize that line. Say it in a normal voice, not angry, not sarcastic, not shaky if you can help it, just clear. Why does that line matter so much? Because consent is one of the easiest ways for police to search without a warrant. If you give permission, even by accident, you make it much harder later to challenge what happened. Defense attorneys use this exact line in court because it creates a clean record. You did not agree. You did not invite them in. You did not hand away your rights. And no, this does not mean the officer will always walk away. Here's the reality. If they already have legal grounds to search, they may still search. But your refusal still matters. It can matter a lot. It stops you from helping them build the case against you. It stops your own mouth from becoming their best evidence. Bad way. Most drivers say, "Yeah, I don't have anything in there, so sure." Then the officer searches every area that sounds reasonable, and the driver can't later say it was against their wishes. Good way. Smart drivers say, "Officer, I do not consent to any searches." Then the officer knows they are not getting easy permission and has to rely on actual legal grounds instead of your cooperation. This is 100% legal. You are not required to consent just because the request sounds casual. You are not being disrespectful by refusing. You are using your rights. And this comes straight from Supreme Court rulings. In Schneckloth v. Bustamante, the court dealt with a consent search. The big lesson for you is simple. Courts look at the full situation to decide if consent was given. That means if you sound unsure, nervous, or half agreeing, that can still become a fight later. A clear no is stronger than a fuzzy, maybe every single time. Watch what happens when a driver says the line the right way. The officer usually does one of three things. He asks again with softer words. He tries a guilt line like, "If you've got nothing to hide, why not?" Or he changes the subject and keeps the stop going longer. That is why your first line is not the end. It is the start of your protection. You're building a record with your own words. Calm, short, firm. No speeches, no jokes, no extra explaining, just the line. And please do not say, "I know my rights." That sounds tough, but it often starts a contest. Your goal is not to win a fight on the roadside. Your goal is to give them nothing extra and go home. The first line is not for ego, it is for control. You are telling the truth in the cleanest way possible. "Officer, I do not consent to any searches." Have you ever been asked something like this during a stop? Drop a comment below and tell me what they said because the wording changes, but the trap is almost always the same. Now let's go to the next move, because this is where drivers get stuck. After you refuse, the officer may keep talking like the stop is still open forever. He may ask where you're coming from, where you're going, whose car it is, why you seem nervous, why there's a bag in the back, why you pause before answering. Here's the trick they don't want you knowing. Once the job of the stop is done, that stop is supposed to end unless they have a real legal reason. So after you refuse consent, your next line is this. You look at the officer and say this: "Am I being detained or am I free to leave?" Those exact words. Keep them short. Keep them calm. Let me show you exactly why this works. That question forces the moment into the open. Either the officer says you're free to go, or the officer makes it clear you're still being held. If you're free to go, then go. If you're being detained, stop volunteering information. That question helps draw a bright line. It also makes the officer decide if this is still about the traffic stop. The bad way, most drivers say, "So what's going on?" or "Are we done here?" Then the officer keeps chatting, keeps fishing, and keeps the driver talking until something useful slips out. Good way. Smart drivers say, "Am I being detained or am I free to leave?" Then the officer has to answer the real issue instead of drifting through small talk. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings. In Rodriguez versus United States, the court said police cannot drag out a traffic stop longer than needed just to do extra investigation, like waiting for a dog, unless they have reasonable suspicion. That means the mission of the stop matters. Ticket, warning, license check, registration, basic safety stuff. Once that is done, they do not get endless bonus time just because they feel curious. This is 100% legal for you to ask. You are not ordering the officer around. You are asking whether the detention is over. That is a fair question, a smart question, a protective question. And if the answer is, you're not free to leave, then now you know you should stop acting like this is casual conversation. I've seen drivers make the mistake of filling silence because silence feels awkward. They laugh, they explain, they ramble. They say, "I'm just heading to my cousin's place. And yeah, that backpack is my friend's, and I was in a hurry because..." No, do not do that. Every extra word gives them more angles. Every extra detail gives them more suspicion to describe later. Former police officers have confirmed this works because it changes the whole tone. You stop being a source of free evidence and start being a person who understands the limits of the stop. Watch what happens when you ask the question cleanly. The officer often has to choose. End it, or justify extending it. That alone changes the pressure. And if you do end up challenging the stop later, that question matters, because it helps show when the original traffic matter was done and when the fishing started. Now let's talk about the moment a lot of people ruin everything. You refused. You asked if you were free to leave. But the officer keeps pushing. Maybe he says, "Why not let me clear this up real quick?" Maybe he says, "If you say no, that makes you look suspicious." Maybe he tells you to step out. Maybe he starts moving toward the door. Listen closely because this is critical. Your next move is not to resist. Your next move is to comply physically if ordered, while refusing verbally. Here's exactly what you say. "I will comply with your order, but I do not consent to any searches." Memorize that line too. It might save you more than the first one. Why is that so important? Because roadside is not court. Roadside is not where you argue the Constitution. If an officer gives a lawful order like stepping out of the car, you comply. But compliance is not consent. Those are different things. You can follow the order and still protect your rights. Bad way. Most drivers say, "No, you can't make me get out." Then the stop gets louder, faster, and more dangerous. Good way. Smart drivers say, "I will comply with your order, but I do not consent to any searches." Then they avoid a physical confrontation while keeping their legal position clear. That difference is huge. In Pennsylvania versus Mims, officers were allowed to order a driver out of a car during a lawful traffic stop. So if you're ordered out, do it. But do not mix that with permission to search. And if they search anyway, your words matter. They show you did not agree. Legal experts agree this is your strongest protection because it separates your physical cooperation from legal consent. Let me show you exactly how drivers get tricked here. The officer says, "Step out for me." The driver thinks, "Well, I already stepped out, so I guess they can just look." No, that is not how it works. Stepping out is one thing, consent is another. Keep them separate. And if they try the shame line, like only guilty people say no, ignore the bait. Innocent people say no all the time. Careful people say no all the time. Your refusal is not proof of guilt. It is proof that you know the difference between being polite and being easy to search. Most people already clicked away. If you're still here, you're in the top 10%. Drop a comment saying, "I'm still here," because the next part is the one people forget under pressure. If the officer keeps asking questions after that, or if things feel like they are turning serious, your final line is the one that shuts your mouth. "I'm invoking my right to remain silent, and I want a lawyer." Say it once, then actually stay quiet. This line matters because panic makes people talk, and talking is where cases get built. You think you're clearing things up, you're usually making things worse. Small lies become big problems. Nervous jokes sound guilty on camera. Harmless details become inconsistencies. That is why defense attorneys tell clients the same thing every day. Stop talking. Ask for counsel. Hold the line. Bad way. Most drivers say, "I swear that's not mine," or "My friend must have left that there." Good way. Smart drivers say, "I'm invoking my right to remain silent, and I want a lawyer." This is not you being difficult. This is you being smart. Every stressed answer can be misunderstood. Truth matters, But timing matters too. Context matters too. A lawyer helps protect both. In Knowles v. Iowa, the Supreme Court said police could not do a full car search just because they gave a citation. In Arizona v. Gant, the court said police cannot automatically search a car after arrest unless certain limits are met. Police power is not unlimited, but your mouth can accidentally make it feel unlimited if you keep giving consent. Now let's walk through a real traffic stop. You're driving home. Lights flash behind you. You pull over. The officer asks, "Can I take a quick look?" You say, "Officer, I do not consent to any searches." Then you ask, "Am I being detained or am I free to leave?" If he says you are free to go, you leave. Next week, I'm revealing what to say when cops claim they smell weed. Subscribe right now because that one gets people. Remember the 4 lines. First, "Officer, I do not consent to any searches." Second, "Am I being detained or free to leave?" Third, "I will comply with your order, but I do not consent to any searches." Fourth, "I invoke my right to remain silent." These lines keep you calm and protected. Hit subscribe and smash like. Stay safe out there.